There is a place at the edge of the world where the sand is older than memory. Not old in the way that cities are old, not built and worn and built again, but old in the slow geological way that mountains are old. Old the way that silence is old. The dunes of Sossusvlei have been shaped by wind for 5 million years, and they are still being shaped, grain by grain, in this very moment as you listen. The sun is sinking. It moves, as it always has, with an unhurried certainty, neither slow nor fast, simply inevitable, the way all great things move. And as it drops toward the crest of the western dunes, it draws the color out of everything it touches and replaces it with something richer, something you can almost feel on your skin. The sand, which burned white and copper in the midday heat, deepens now to amber, then to a red so saturated it seems almost improbable. A red that has no name in ordinary language, a red that belongs only here, only to this desert, only at this hour. The Namib's dunes are among the tallest in the world, some rising 200, 300 meters from the pale clay floor of the pan below, and in this light they glow as though something inside them is still warm, as though the desert itself remembers the heat and is slowly, reluctantly releasing it. Watch the shadows now. This is the quiet miracle of the golden hour. Not the light itself, but what the light does to the shadows. As the sun descends, the shadows on the eastern faces of the dunes stretch and lengthen, pouring down the slip faces like something dark and liquid, like ink moving through water. The ridgeline of each dune becomes a knife's edge, one side burning orange, the other already cool and violet, already belonging to the night. The sky above is beginning its own transformation. From the zenith, that point directly overhead, the crown of the sky, it holds still a deep and saturated blue. But out toward the west, spreading in soft bands above the sinking sun, the colors bleed into one another the way watercolor bleeds into wet paper. Burnt orange, copper, a soft and dusty rose. And higher, where the warmth of the lower atmosphere fades, a pale, almost mineral violet that deepens with every passing minute. You are standing, or lying, or simply being, in a place where there are no roads within sight, no buildings, no lights that were made by human hands. There is only the desert and the sky and the slow, ancient ceremony of sunset that is played out over this pan every evening for longer than our species has existed. Let that settle. Let it move through you like something warm. The heat leaves in a way that you can almost hear. All day, the Namib has been accumulating warmth. The dark iron oxides in the sand absorbing the sun with a quiet efficiency. The air above the flats shimmering and distorting, alive with thermal energy. But now, in the minutes after sunset, the desert begins to exhale. The sand releases what it has been holding, and the warmth rises and disperses into the vast and cloudless sky above, and the temperature begins to drop. Not quickly. This is not a cold that arrives with urgency. It comes the way sleep comes, gradually, from the edges, working inward. First, the quality of the air changes. The dry, almost brittle sharpness of the afternoon softens into something gentler. The kind of cool that makes you breathe more slowly, more deliberately. The kind of air that asks nothing of you and gives everything. You feel it first on the back of your hands, on the sides of your neck, on the insides of your wrists where the skin is thinnest. And then, stillness. The wind that carved these dunes, that has been whispering at their crests all afternoon, drops to almost nothing. There is a moment, brief and sacred, where the Namib holds its breath, where the desert pan is so absolutely quiet that you can hear your own heartbeat, slow and rhythmic, keeping time in a landscape that has given up on time altogether. The Sossusvlei is ahead of you. The white clay pan with its ancient blackened camel thorn trees. These trees died around 900 years ago, when the channels that fed them were cut off by shifting dunes. They have stood here in this extreme aridity ever since. Not decomposing, not falling, simply remaining. Their black skeletal forms rise from the bone-white floor of the pan like calligraphy, like a language written by the desert itself, expressing something about time and endurance and patience that no human language has words for. The last light falls across them now. Deep amber on the windward side, shadow on the other. They are beautiful in the way that very old things are beautiful. Not despite their stillness, but because of it. Breathe. You have nowhere to be. Nothing is required of you. The desert does not ask, it simply is. And for a little while, for exactly as long as you need, you are allowed to simply be too. The last color drains from the western horizon. It goes slowly, a slow recession like the tide going out. First the copper, then the rose. The violet holds the longest, clinging to the edge of the sky with a quiet stubbornness, as though reluctant to let the night through. But the night is patient and vast, and it has been waiting for millions of years on the other side of that thin atmospheric rim, and eventually, inevitably, the violet fades too. And the stars begin. They do not arrive all at once. They appear the way thoughts appear as you drift towards sleep. One at a time at first, seeming to come from nowhere, surprising you with their presence. Venus has already been there for an hour, burning low in the west, impossible to miss. Not twinkling, but holding a steady, cool, planetary light. A sister world reflecting the same sun that just left you. Then Jupiter. Then Saturn, with its characteristic amber warmth. Then the threshold breaks. Your eyes, adjusted now to a darkness that most people never truly experience, begin to perceive the deeper field. And the sky of the Namib, far from any city, far from any artificial light source, far from anything made by modern hands, opens itself to you in a way that is almost difficult to accept. The Milky Way rises. It comes up from the south, arching overhead in a river of light so dense, so textured, so impossibly layered that it does not look like a collection of individual stars at all. It looks structural, architectural, as though someone has placed a luminous spine across the sky and the rest of creation is arranged around it. And in a sense, that is precisely what has happened. What you are seeing is the flattened disk of our own galaxy, 200 billion stars, viewed from within, edge on, from the arm of one of its quieter spiral branches. You are not looking out at the Milky Way. You are embedded in it. You are made of it. The calcium in your bones and the iron in your blood were forged in stars that were born and died long before our sun existed, and their remains, scattered across the galaxy, incorporated into the molecular cloud that eventually became our solar system, are the same substance that is burning above you right now. Near the center of the arc, where the galaxy core is most concentrated, the light is almost tangible. There are dark lanes woven through it, not gaps, but vast molecular clouds, cold and dense, blocking the stars behind them, sculpting the glow into something complex and beautiful and humbling. The dark lane of the Great Rift runs through the core like a shadow river, and on either side of it the light builds and deepens, a soft luminescence that your eyes perceive but can barely believe. Drop your gaze a little toward the south. There, low and steady, is the Southern Cross. 4 stars. Modest, really, in their brightness, but arranged with such geometric precision that navigators for centuries used them the way others used the North Star, as a fixed reference in a turning sky. The long axis of the cross points almost exactly toward the south celestial pole, that invisible pivot around which the entire southern hemisphere of the sky rotates. If you had time enough and patience enough, you could watch the whole sky wheel around that silent, starless point. And flanking the southern sky, 2 luminous smudges that the naked eye might mistake for detached fragments of the Milky Way. The Magellanic Clouds, the large one and the small. They are not fragments, they are entire galaxies, smaller than our own, but complete in themselves, orbiting the Milky Way the way moons orbit a planet, bound by gravity, slowly circling, slowly, over billions of years, being drawn inward. They are the nearest galaxies visible to the unaided eye from Earth's southern hemisphere. The large Magellanic Cloud sits roughly 160,000 light-years away. The light reaching your eyes right now left that galaxy when our ancestors were still in the early chapters of their story on this planet. You are seeing ancient light. You are receiving a message that has been traveling through the absolute cold of intergalactic space for 160,000 years. And it has arrived, here, now, at your retina, in this desert, in this silence. The stars are moving. Not visibly, not in the way that a second hand moves, or the way that clouds move. But if you were to find a fixed point of reference, the outline of a dune crest, perhaps, or the dark arm of one of the ancient camel thorns, and hold your eyes very still, you would notice, slowly, imperceptibly, the stars are drifting. The earth beneath you is rotating, turning on its axis at roughly 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator. Though here in the Namib, further south, the speed is a little less. You cannot feel it. There is no sensation of movement, no wind of motion, no vibration. It is the most profound and ordinary thing to be on a spinning planet, and it is completely, perfectly unfelt. And yet, the stars move. Orion, which stood upright in the east when full darkness fell, has tilted now, leaning westward in its slow arc across the sky. The Southern Cross has rotated a fraction of a degree around its pivot point. The Milky Way has shifted, subtly, gradually, in its great arch overhead. The galaxy core, which sat fully above the southern horizon in the early hours of the night, will be gone before dawn, the Earth's rotation carrying your vantage point away from it. You are on a vessel, a slow, ancient vessel, rocky and water-covered and improbable, making its unhurried way through space. And the stars that seem so fixed, so permanent, so absolute, are themselves in motion, drifting relative to one another in the slow waltz of the galaxy. In 100,000 years, the constellations you recognize will be unrecognizable. In 1,000,000 years, the night sky will be a different sky entirely. But tonight, in this moment, in this desert, under this sky, nothing has changed in a very long time. The dunes are where they were yesterday, and last year, and 1,000 years ago. The camel thorns stand exactly as they stood when the medieval world was building its cathedrals. And the stars above trace exactly the paths they always trace. Reliable, rhythmic, ancient. There is something in that constancy that the body recognizes, something that loosens the tension in the shoulders and softens the muscles around the eyes and slows the breath without effort or intention. You are very small, and that, right now, feels like relief. The desert floor is cool now. The clay of the pan holds the residual memory of the day's warmth, just a little longer than the air. If you were to press your palm flat against it, you might find it still faintly warm beneath the surface, the way a stone holds heat after the fire has gone. But the air above it is cool and clean and utterly still. There is no sound, not silence as we usually experience it, not the silence of a room with the television off, or a car with the engine cut, where the ghost of sound still lingers. This is the silence of the Namib, the silence of a place that has never known the hum of infrastructure or the ambient noise of density. It is a silence with texture, a silence you can feel pressing gently against your eardrums, like cupped hands. In this silence, your breathing slows, in and out, slow, easy. The cool desert air moving through you without friction, without effort. Each breath a little slower than the last, the rhythm finding its own unhurried tempo, the same tempo the desert keeps, deep and ancient and unconcerned. The stars wheel overhead in their slow procession. The Milky Way holds its arch across the sky, luminous and patient. The Magellanic Clouds drift just above the horizon, two soft smudges of ancient light, crossing the desert night the way they have crossed every desert night for as long as there have been eyes to see them. The dunes hold their form, the camel thorns stand. The white clay pan reflects the starlight in the faintest, most delicate way. A luminescence so subtle you might not be certain it is there at all. Everything is where it should be. You are where you should be. Let the desert hold you now. Let the weight of the day, the thoughts, the questions, the small urgencies that seemed so immediate a few hours ago, let them settle the way the sand settles after the wind has passed. They will be there in the morning if you need them, but the morning is far away and there is no hurry to reach it. The stars are crossing overhead, slow, steady, ancient, and somewhere beneath them, on the cool floor of a desert that has been here since before memory, there is a quiet, deep and complete and very, very old, that asks nothing of you at all. Rest now. The Namib is still, the sky is turning, and you are exactly where you are.